Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. And maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen.
Well, hello, hello, hello. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine with
Dr. Cami, and I'm fine too.
And we are here trying to decide what to say. No, I'm just kidding. Last show, we talked about death and dying. We got really intimate, really personal. Talked about my sister Betty and watching the process of her body's decay over a long time. And Dr. Cami visited about her brother committing suicide. So it was really personal. We got deep. And today we want to talk about how to really tune in to the voice within. And how do you tune out? And we're going to dialogue, and I'm sure some of it will be technical and some of it's practical. But how do you tune out so you can tune in? Dr. Cami, what are your thoughts?
One of the things I talk about in folks in my programs and at my clinic is, how do you get to a space where the chaos can be around you and you're still stay in that centered place? And it's a muscle. It's a muscle you have to work because we're so programmed to be gaslit, if you will, for how you're supposed to act.
Explain gaslit for those of us who are clueless.
Well, just somebody that's poking the bear, that knows this is one of those agreed upon. I didn't agree to it, but agreed upon society that you should act this way if this is said.
So some kind of agenda.
Yeah,
okay.
Agenda and
right.
and letting you know that I'm going to test you out and see if you're on the program or not. So, saying like somebody accusing me of being racist, which I had to laugh out loud. But, that would be what I would describe as somebody gaslighting you, to see if they can get a reaction that takes you off your game and gets the noise playing in your head.
Okay, so an example is all the TV and all the social media and all the he said, she said, we said, they said stuff, determining what you think and what you feel and what you believe. So how do you tune out all of that so you hear, even determine what you believe or what you're listening to? How do you do that?
Well, I would turn it off, like literally turn it off. I don't watch.
Not this show. You need to leave this one on.
Yes. No, all the mainstream media. I haven't watched the news in years and years, and I don't.
That's because Walter Cronkite's been gone for so long.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't watch Walter either, but because they're all part of the same program. And here's the thing, politics, whether you're on this side or that side, it's really important to recognize it's two heads of the same snake. So you have to know that, whether you lean this way or that way, and it's fine because it's a society we're living in that level of society, but also being able to look at it from this view and say, yeah, that's still two heads of the same snake. Now, do I have more of a gravitation to this head versus that head? Yes, we all have that because we're in a dualistic society. But being able to also recognize that there's a program being run, there's a program.
They're all controlled.
Yes, and there's a program that you can buy into or choose not to. I choose not to most of the time. Some of the time I find myself sucked in. I'm like, oh, give me, let me step back.
So do you want to be controlled or do you not want to be controlled?
Right.
That's the question.
Right, and being able to hear, versus somebody said something, so I'm going to take that as the gospel. Like, don't believe anything we're saying either. Listening to the energy behind our voice and our intention is what is most important, and doing the same for yourself and for the people around you. Like, really, once you can get quiet, turn the noise off, like we were talking about in the last episode, turning the noise off so you can hear yourself and you can hear that voice within, God within, whatever, however you want to.
Most people in this viewing are all the God within.
Okay. So,
and the Christ within.
Okay, so the God within.
Because we're not on the mainstream. If we were on mainstream, we'd have to be that politically correct.
Yes.
But we're not.
Well, I have very seldom been accused of being politically correct. So, and I wear that with honor and integrity. But to be able to stand inside of the chaos that's all around us and still stay centered and stay
in peace,
connected and in peace with what your purpose is and what you are up to in life is very important. So, okay, practicality, how do you do that? Well, part is to get quiet, turn off the noise. It's very difficult to be peaceful when you have, heavy metal all over around you, and that frequency occurs to me like that screamo heavy metal kind of noise, if you will.
Or all the murder shows.
Yeah, all of it.
If it's all the time.
Yes, because I call it fear porn. That's what I call it.
It's so true.
And all around, if we just look at this last election here, there was, complete different reactions. Like I was telling my daughter, who had a very big reaction to the results of the election. And part of it was she was so bought into the fear. And that's what I really wanted to understand with her, not the right or wrong of her choice versus my choice. It's either way is fine. But what was not fine with me is watching her suffer inside of this fear. Like she swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. And I was really just curious about that, because I said, the reality is your life is just fine in this moment. Like, none of that's actually in existence for you. This thing that you're fearing with such a visceral reaction to is not actually happening, has never happened in your life, and the likelihood that it never will happen in your life.
Which is fear. Fear is bringing on things that...
Yeah, we're suffering over...
Sometimes aren't even a possibility.
Yes, suffering over things that are not present. But what I also know is if you focus on that and fear that and put a lot of energy there, it very likely will become your reality.
So let's, just for a moment, this is not a political show, but I had this thought. So it's one thing to get center and believe what you believe and have a thought in a direction that is really, really strong, versus listening to all these 20 different channels and being so influenced by what you're hearing that becomes what you believe. And people do this every Sunday and every Wednesday. They go to their respective churches, and you do that year after year after year after, and then all you're going to know is the belief system within you that came from other people.
It's programming.
As a matter of fact, since we're on this, we're going to get back to what our original intention was eventually, but I want you to go find the book, The Conscious Parent. I'm listening to it, and it's talking about literally finding out, well, it's about helping children find themselves, but it's helping me find myself. And the reason we're talking about all of this is because I asked her, I said, I'm not very fun. She said, well, I think you're fun. I'm like, I don't see it.
Right? She's fun. She is absolutely fun.
I mean, I bring a lot of levity into things, but like my emotional coaching is pretty set serious, but yet when I'm in the midst of it, I'm like laughing through tragedy and things of that nature, But I remember even years ago, I was interviewing for a job, and I was at the place where I was talking with the vice president, and he just looked at me. He said, "Donna, do you know how to have fun?" And I said, I'm learning. Because I've always been very honest. So I'm learning how to have fun. Because I did know how to have fun. It was at a university, so I had to know how to have fun in student affairs.
Yes. Yes.
And I didn't feel like I did. So, but if I knew how to tune in, I guarantee there's fun.
Yes.
I mean, God within is not uptight. He's not stressed. He's not in depression. He's not mourning, even though we're going through hard things. He's not choosing this one over that one. That's not the way God rolls. I mean, that's just not how it works. So finding the voice within, listening with intention, waiting. For me, sometimes it's like, if you're around all these, like, you get around all these people that think a certain way, you feel it. I'm like, I have to really, on the inside, just really just pull back a little bit. Kind of like women got to tuck in their belly a little bit. I got to tuck in my intention just a little bit and listen, because you can feel the motives. You can feel the motives of manipulation. You can feel the motives of, oh my God, tell me what to think, tell me what to believe. You can feel the motives of, would you fix me? Are you my savior? Are you going to help me because I'm going to die without you? You can feel like, I've talked before about how I love Dr. Cammie, but I'm never going to use her, and she's not going to be my savior, and she's not even going to be the person that's responsible for my health.
I'm nobody's savior.
Right? She's not. Although I respect everything she brings to the table, I've got to hear within the direction I take, even if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And if being wrong breaks the relationship, then there's not a relationship anyway. And that's the thing. You can't break the relationship with the person who lives inside you, man. You can't. Right. But you better get still enough to listen to it.
Yep. Because it's there always anyway. So we were talking about the effect that we can have on people, and I'm one of those people that people just, I think I have it flashing on my forehead. Tell me everything, and it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
And I've literally sat next to people in the airport and just strike up a conversation, and within 5-10 minutes, they're telling me their entire intimate life story.
I'm with you.
And just crying, and when people come to see me for what we call
aren't you glad it's not counseling?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Because it could have been.
It could, but no. But I'll have people coming in, and we're doing a wellness evaluation to see if we're for each other. And I have men a lot of times. I don't know why I'm crying around you, and it's like it's okay. Just you're fine. Just go with it.
And I told her it's because the Christ within. She has an intimate connection with the voice within, because she shut out the voices of all the trash talk.
Yeah, and like when I was literally this last week trying to be gaslit, it just didn't work. I literally laughed when this person accused me of being racist. I laughed out loud, and it was okay. That's it was funny, but.
So when you want to shift blame to somebody else for something you need to be taking responsibility for?
Yes.
Wow, that's avoiding you for sure.
Yeah, and then we had to have a different kind of conversation, but it was interesting. We talked about stress, and 80% of everything physical that's happening that's degrading the body has some root in stress. And there's 3 different kind of stress that we are exposed to. The first one's physical stress, and there's good physical stress and not so great physical stress. Good physical stress might be exercise, and a bad physical stress would be a surgery or a trauma, physical trauma. That's injury. And then we have chemical stress, and I think people are unaware of how much chemical stress we have in our lives. From the air we breathe right now, all the little lines that you see after the planes, those are all chemtrails, and they're absolutely polluting the sky. And then, it's in every bit of our food. Roundup, everybody's heard of Roundup. And even organic is not without,
some kind of tainting.
And even the coffee we drink, we think, oh, our coffee, my coffee's fine. No, they probably, most likely, 99% sprayed something on the coffee plants before they actually, harvested the beans. So it's in all of us, this these chemical toxins.
Is radioactive the same as chemical, or is that the third category?
No, the third category is emotional stress.
So I would think that radioactive would affect all of those.
Yeah, but radioactive I would also put in the toxic chemical.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Range. But then the third form of stress that we endure is the emotional stress, and what we're talking about here of all the pollution, all the toxicity that's coming into your field and what you're allowing into your field. The whole social media thing and how many likes did I get? And am I able to keep up with these people that look like their life is just fabulous? and what you don't know is her husband's having an affair, and she's having an affair, and one of the kids is on drugs, but they look fabulous at the beach in Cabo, and everybody looks like they're having such a good time, but it's this facade, and
they're like the Stepford Wives.
Yes. And what the image that we're portraying, because we're thinking everybody else has got it all together, and we don't have it together. And you're walking around trying to look good for everybody else. And here's the secret: nobody cares, because they're walking around trying to look good for you, and nobody's paying attention to anybody.
That's right.
Is what's happening. So being quiet and paying attention to yourself and what you feel, what you think. And just because you have a feeling doesn't mean you have to act on it. Doesn't even mean that it came from you, just like your thoughts. Your thoughts could be, because they are a frequency, could be from somewhere else. And just because you have a thought doesn't mean you have to latch onto it, doesn't mean you have to believe it, doesn't mean you even have to acknowledge it. Oh, look at me having that thought. I'm just going to let that go because I don't believe that's from me. And so getting still and quiet enough to notice the noise, and then being able to turn it down or turn it completely off is required to get to be able to have that relationship we're talking about.
I have an example. So when I was sick before COVID, and the medical wasn't exactly cutting it for me, and neither was the holistic, actually. And so I was going outside in the sun intuitively every day. Start out with 10, 15 minutes. This is during like hot time. We're in Texas, guys. And I was sitting out there 10, 20, and then eventually an hour or two. I mean, I was just sitting outside and just listening. And because I had the idea, I had felt like God had spoken to me and said, you could die. And I'm like, okay, good to know, heads up. I'm glad to know, thank you, because, it was a thought. And some people would say, well, God would never speak that. I'm like, well, when you're intimate, God's not afraid to speak anything to you because you're solid in your relationship and you're not living by fear.
Yes.
And so I wasn't afraid, but I was like, dang, we know we're all going to die, but nobody wants to do it tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, we need to listen up. So I kept listening. And anyway, because I was listening, that's where I got ideas. I mean, I got the word, the song Jump. Go ahead and jump. What's that? Not Rod Stewart, but anyway, it might have been Rod Stewart. Anyway, back in the day, I'm like from the 80s. Van Halen.
Yes.
I'm like, what's that got to do with all the tea in China? So, man, we're watching that. We're getting old videos. We're reading the lyrics over and over and over, going, okay, what are you saying? And then there was another song. I can't believe it. The other one, I can't remember the other one now. It's written down somewhere, though. And did the same thing. What are you saying? You're saying something. What are you saying? What are you saying to me? Because this is a personal, intimate word, And those began to piece things together for me because I was listening. And then I had the thought of someone I know to go see her. And she had a Zyto, which I have a Zyto now too because of it. But she had a Zyto. I'm like, so I called her and said, hey, that thing you do. Like people call me that thing you do. I'm like, that thing that cost me X amount of money. Sure, that thing I do. Anyway, do you know, I knew because I was being led that whatever information would be there for me would be a tool for me. And literally, I found this word. I said, what is this? And it was called the esophageal sphincter. I said, what the heck is that? And I knew that was what was wrong with me. And I had not eaten for 6 weeks. I mean, had dropped 30 pounds. I was not doing well. It looked like my body was dying. Mm-hmm. And also I'd triggered my mom was dead 40 years that year. Mm-hmm. So I was literally triggered, and I was reliving what my mom went through when I was 18 years old. I mean, it was so much depth in the tapestry of me hearing and what I was physically going through, which matching what happened to my mother. I mean, it was quite something.
And you literally couldn't stomach it.
Literally. Yeah. The esophageal sphincter was the reason I wasn't eating, because I intuitively stopped eating. The esophageal sphincter was stuck open. Mm-hmm. And I had gone to see a massage therapist, which I still say, go see a massage therapist and go see a Thai one because they're the best. But that's what I saw. And she pressed too deep, and it had stuck that thing open, and nobody knew. But God had to lead me to get me to, because I'd gone to see a gastroenterologist who said, oh, here's some reflux medicine. And I'm like, that's not going to help me.
Which is the absolutely wrong thing to do if your esophageal sphincter is
stuck open. He said it was impossible for it to be stuck open. I mean, this is some of the things I went through. The point isn't the physical. It's like, if you're not listening, you're going to go down the road of the medical or the political or the religious or the corporate I mean, come on. When Enron shut down, I bet there were some people that were surprised by that, but they weren't listening. They were trapped in the propaganda that was taking place, and they were moved with that intention because they were not in a frequency where they could hear and they could escape. Yep. And the same thing with us. So I had to say no to things that even Craig wanted me to do. I'm like, I can't do that. This person, I'm like, I said, no. Give me some time. Just give me a moment. I have got to tune in. And so it looked like I was wasting my time. And that year, some people that I thought were my friends left. They were going through their own hard things, difficult things, but other people were there for them instead of me, which I would have been there for them. And we've really not been friends ever since, because that disconnect took place. But what happened? I connected here, people disconnected here. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have the connection here where you're listening to what everybody has to say and doing whatever they tell you to do? Or the connection here that not only loves you unconditionally, but has an intention for you to live. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the lifeline. This is I want you to live and fulfill everything that's on your scroll to the last breath you take in this realm to the next realm. But you're not going to get it doing that. Tune that out and tune in here, and it takes practice. Like 5 minutes on the floor every morning. Just roll out of bed, lay on the floor. This man that I'm married to lays on the floor every single day, except for we're on vacation. He does roll out of bed, lay on the floor on his knees. It doesn't matter whether you're on your knees or not. And literally for like 5 minutes, he's just quiet. He's listening. He said his intention with the one who lives inside of him. He's like, here I am. And I've watched that for 22 years consistently. And is he always tuned in? No, we're in a little disagreement right now. But that doesn't mean he's not hearing. It just means I'm hearing something different. So we're not tuning into the same frequency. Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead. Whatever you got, rock it out. I'm just like, do you get what we're saying?
Yeah.
Tune it in. Listen. Yes. Don't be led by your emotions. Don't be led by somebody else's emotions. Yes. Don't be led by the guilt. Yes. We'll talk about that next show. Yes. I got a whole thing on guilt.
Yes, I agree.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So yes, being discerning of the information coming in. And I'm not talking about making somebody else wrong either.
That's right.
That it's just information, and you can accept it in, or you can say, no, that didn't really resonate with me. You can go do your thing, and I'm going to stay over here and do my thing, and I might have to love you from afar, and it's actually
that sounds healthy. For some reason, the word came to me. How healthy is that?
Yeah, just you can still love somebody. That's the highest power we have, is love. And if something is really not working in your life, if you direct love at it, you can actually transform it. Even if they don't want to transform, you transform your relationship with it, where it's not wrong.
With the conflict?
Yes.
With the problem, with how they feel about you?
Yes. It's
good.
It's not, like this lady that accused me of being racist. I just can only love her back. And I'm sad for her that she still sees life that way. And it's okay, because that's where she's at. I'm not there. And what you'll find is the more you go within, you will have people fall out of your life because they can't really relate to you anymore, because you're not in that same space of the programming. You've left the program. You've left the building, if you will.
And later, I realized, even though it took me a couple years to really reconcile, oh my gosh, we'll see you in the next show. Back.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.